Sega Bits presents Sega Talk, a podcast talking all things Sega! With your hosts, George and Barry.
Look, it's a giant talking egg. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the master here. Say what?
Hello and welcome to Sega Talk, episode 51. On this episode, we are going to be talking about the Dreamcast classic, ChuChu Rocket. But before we get to that, I want to introduce my co-host with the mo-host, George.
Hello, everyone.
And in case you guys don't know, we are on Patreon. You can support us. If you support us at certain tiers, you get certain benefits. You get the show a week early. You get to pick what we cover. In fact, our last episode, which was episode 50, we covered Sonic 2, which was a Patreon patron choice. And they're already pitching the next one. So we're in talks with them about that. They really like to not only pick the game, but say like when we do it. And okay. I never said that's a perk, but I'm making it a perk. You know, like if you're like, oh, on my birthday, could you talk about Snail Maze? I'd be like, yeah, sure.
If you really want to talk about snail maze, but or if you want a number, you know, we still have a lot of good numbers coming up. Like 69, obviously, Feel the Magic. That's a great game. Yeah,
that's happening now.
Yeah, it has to.
So if you're wondering why we're covering ChuChu Rocket, there's nothing really timely about it. To be honest, last episode was 2 hours long. And this one, I don't think is going to be 2 hours. So this is almost like a vacation episode for us. But you never know. We might talk for like an hour just about like the blue ChuChu. You know what I mean?
I already have a lot of things to say about it.
Me too. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff he's actually said online. I brought up some old tweets. So it's going to be a cancel of Chewy. But we'll get into that. So, ChuChu Rocket, it is an action puzzle game from Sonic Team. It released to the Sega Dreamcast on November 11th, 1999. The game came to America on March 7th, 2020, and Europe on May 12th, 2020. That's wrong. 2000. Sorry, guys.
I was like, wow, they took a long time.
No, you guys, it was the longest delay. Wow, people are tuning out already. ChuChu Rocket was both a puzzle game and a four-player party game, and both styles were wildly different, despite using the same elements. So, what are your earliest memories of ChuChu Rocket, and which do you prefer, the slower thinking man's game or the hectic multiplayer? And remember, as I said, this game just came out this year, so I don't know why you would forget about it.
I played this game mostly single player. This is actually not one of the games I didn't play on the internet. When, like, there's like a few games I played. It was like Quake 3 Arena was probably where I spent a lot of time in because I was kind of impressed by the game. And Phantasy Star Online, actually, that's probably number one. And then NFL, one of the NFL 2K, I think 2K1. Okay. So those are the ones I played the most of online when this whole thing was happening. So I didn't play the multiplayer too much, even offline. I don't even know if they had offline multiplayer, but I played a lot of the single player on this, which is kind of weird because everything I remember from this game, and like at least marketing standpoint, it was that it was an online game. Like that was the marketing behind it, and it actually I thought had a lot of marketing behind it because it was kind of like a double-edged sword. It was actually there to promote SegaNet. Really?
Yeah, that's very true. So, yeah, my earliest memory was the fact that this was really the first non-Sonic Sonic Team game that I picked up because I was not buying into the Saturn. I really was a Genesis gamer who went right to the Dreamcast. And so when I saw that Sonic Team was making this game, I was like, well, I got to pick this up. I love Sonic. And it was just... it was a real time suck. Like it takes, it just like it's so time consuming, regardless of the mode. And for me, it was a cheap game to pick up, like $30. So that was new to me as well. I was kind of like, is this the future of games? Are they going to be this cheap? This is awesome. I'm going to own more games now. I also another early memory I have is actually playing online. Eventually on the show, we will talk about SegaNet. I think we could do a whole SegaNet episode, Sega Online Gaming. But correct me if I'm wrong, but we didn't have to pay for online multiplayer at this point.
No, it was, if you had a dial-up connection, it was free to play, but they had their own branded dial-up connection, which went through AT&T or another company, and they called it SegaNet, but it wasn't a paid service, no.
No, and I remember at the time people were using NetZero, because that was free internet. I don't remember what the restriction was. Maybe it was like a certain amount of time you could use the internet each week, something like that. Yeah, but it was enough time to game and get free internet. And, we were all like probably teenagers or preteens at this time. So we didn't have the adult skills to get the internet ourselves. It was weird. I didn't think I'd discuss this here, but like when we got the Dreamcast, it was like getting our own computer.
In your bedroom.
In your bedroom. And it wasn't like your dad or your mom had any say on it. So you were like, kind of, at least for me, I was like, almost felt like I was like going around their backs, because I'm like searching online free internet Dreamcast, and it would be like sign up for NetZero, and I sign up and I'm like, holy crap, I'm on the internet on my own, and I'm browsing web pages, and my parents are not censoring what I'm looking at, because at the time my dad would lock me out of using the internet if I like was bad or something. And he would like code lock the computer so I could only use the internet when he was like around or something. They didn't do this too often, but it was a thing. And all of a sudden I was like, I can browse the internet in my room. And with ChuChu Rocket, it opened up a whole other thing with the chat rooms and the online gaming. So I saw there was a community there. Unfortunately, I never got into the ChuChu Rocket community. I really feel like it was a game I played online maybe for a cumulative like 3 or 4 hours. I didn't play an insane amount of online play. And I think the reason was the lag was a little tricky at times. And I also, I kind of wanted to chat to the people, like with the microphone, but that wasn't really a thing yet. And I also felt like people were really either rude or childish in the chat rooms too. They weren't like, oh, hey, where are you from? What's this? Oh, I love this game. Do you like Sonic? They're more like, you sucked at that game. Haha. Show me your boobs. And then they like log off.
So you basically ran into me when you were playing ChuChu Rocket.
Yeah, pretty much. So for me, I thought my favorite mode at the time was the crazy multiplayer. I think now, though, it's shifted. I've become much more of a fan of the puzzle mode. I remember editing puzzles, but I would always like want to make shapes and things, like make because there was one that was in the game that was like a school bus shape. And so I was oh, that's cool. Yeah, so I would like do different little things, little gimmicks, and it never would really work out. So end of the day, I really enjoyed the online multiplayer. And I'm trying to think too, I think something that's really unique to ChuChu Rocket is that it's 2 games in one. And I can't think of that many puzzle games that are both a single person like thinking game, but then also a crazy multiplayer game. Can you think of anything?
I'm sure there's some out there, and our readers are probably like, this one, and I'm not going to get it. Because most of the puzzle games that I played always revolve around the idea of blocks falling or something falling from the sky. And it kind of makes it hectic already, so there's never you could take as long as you want, I guess, unless it's a chess game where when you play multiplayer, it's just insanity. But no, I can't think of any puzzle game. They're like, the multiplayer is just totally different. Maybe I'm just missing a puzzle game. I don't play too many of them, Yeah,
no, I was thinking maybe Bomberman, but I don't think it has like a alternate like puzzle mode. I think it is what it is. So I feel like that's pretty unique to this game, because I think I think there are people that really hate the multiplayer and really love the puzzle, and vice versa. People are like, I never messed with that puzzle stuff. It was boring. But as evidenced, there were thousands of online uploads. Like I think 130,000 uploads to the service. So
wow.
I mean, it was not unpopular. So as far as the release method, it's interesting too, because ChuChu Rocket it released at a reduced price of $29.95 in America. However, in Europe, the game was given away for free to customers of the Dream Arena online service. So while over here we were getting keyboards, SegaNet keyboards.
And a Dreamcast later.
Yeah, and a Dreamcast later, they were getting copies of ChuChu Rocket. Now, I'm not an expert on the European release, so I don't know how readily available the game was, or if it's a little rarer because people had to get it through a service and not like just go to the store and pick it up. I mean, in America, it's a very common game. I feel I think you can still buy it for $30. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm afraid to check eBay now.
Yeah, I'm always afraid, especially right now with COVID, that like prices have gone up on video games for some reason. So it seems that way. Yeah. I thought people were going to get rid of their collections during this time to buckle up, but it seems like the buyer's market's still out there. I've seen a lot.
I've got some good news. ChuChu Rocket is still selling complete for like $18, basically. However, I do see a European release here. It's selling for $11.
Get the European one because it has U's in it.
It's $14 actually. That's not bad.
You're picking it up, aren't you?
No, I don't need another copy of this. If there was like a big regional difference, but just looking at the case, it's nothing signifying like that it was a freebie. In any case, in Japan, I think they really lucked out because, well, it would be great to get it for free. They actually got a combo pack with an orange controller. And I never picked that up. It was always something I wanted to import, and it was always a cheap import. Again, afraid to check what it is now, but I feel at the time it was like $30. You know, it wasn't much. Like, you could import it in the mid-2000s for probably the price of the game in America. So, what are your thoughts on these differing release methods, and do you think the game would have just like blown up in America if it was bundled with ODCM or included with a SegaNet subscription?
I think it probably would have done maybe better than it did. I don't know how well it did, overall, but like the game's budget looks so small compared to obviously the other Sonic Team games they've released during the generation, like Samba de Amigo, Phantasy Star Online, and the adventure games look like their budgets are way massive compared to ChuChu Rocket. So I would say 30 was all right. They could have even dropped it to 20, like just make it a greatest hits priced game and just try to get as many people on it as possible. But I mean, this is the first time I ever played a game or saw a console manufacturer release a game that would be kind of like an indie game. It's really, that's what it is. It's a low budget indie game that is more based around the mechanics than it is about the graphics, which is kind of ballsy because this is the total 180 of what happened in the Sega Saturn, where everything had to be 3D, everything had to be showing off the graphics. This game does not show off the Dreamcast graphics, but it does show off the internet. So
yeah, and we'll get to it actually does show something off, but not the way you'd think.
Ooh, mystery.
But I will say, just talking of like freebies, can you name 2 freebies that were released in the US? And I'm not talking about like demos or anything like that.
Freebies.
You think of 2 games? Like 2 games, standalone games that were free for the Dreamcast.
Wow. In the US?
In the US.
There was free games on the US and nobody told me?
They were, well, I'm talking about ODCM. So you had to buy the magazine, but it was free on disc, at least.
I mean, couldn't you play that one online game? What's the name? That racing game? But it was just maybe one level or what? I don't even know. Go on.
What I'm thinking of, so there is a free one. It's Sega Swirl, and that was included on the web browser.
That's true.
And the other one was included in ODCM. It was from Digital Eclipse. Do you remember the game?
No, I don't.
Super Boom Tread Troopers.
I don't think I played that one. I don't think I have that disc. I have. I think I'm missing like 2 discs from the OCDM.
Yeah. It was a over top view, and it was like Combat for Atari, but in 3D. It was from Digital Eclipse, and we're never going to do an episode on it. So I did find some notes from the guy. I just found this. It was done in under 2 months as a gift for ODCM readers. It was a multiplayer game where you control a tank that fires missiles. The hook is that the missiles do not directly damage your opponent, but only push them. So it was really like sumo wrestling tanks where you had to push them out of the arena. And like I said, it was based on combat. So check that out. I mean, when you compare those, though, to ChuChu Rocket, it's insane that they gave it away for free in Europe. Because that's like...
Yeah, the quality...
I mean, it's not... Yeah, the quality is... It's a Sonic Team game, a free Sonic Team game right there. That's crazy. And unfortunately, I don't have the sales numbers for America or Europe, but I do have the Japan ones, which, again, we'll get to. Okay. So, believe it or not, a little game like ChuChu Rocket does have a story, but I don't believe it exists in the game itself. It's in, like, the manual and stuff. Like the old days. So, in a faraway time on a faraway planet, there is a spaceport where thousands of ChuChus live. The ChuChus are space mice who lived happily until one day the spaceport became infested with kapu-kapus. The kapu-kapus are space cats with voracious appetites and naturally will eat the ChuChus if they catch them. Therefore, the ChuChus must run away and escape in rockets. Albeit they're never seen anywhere in the game, the rockets are piloted by 4 color-coordinated ChuChus. So we have pictures here. There's Chia.
Let me get there we go.
Yeah, he's a blue ChuChu with starry eyes. This ChuChu really knows how to party. And this was the guy I was going to talk about. So he was actually arrested 5 years ago.
Wait, what?
No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, I was like, don't let those eyes fool you.
Well, he's on something. That's
yeah.
There's Chupi, the red ChuChu female with a heart on the tip of her tail. She's a moody daydreamer. There's Chube, the yellow ChuChu that is chubby. Oh, Chubby. He's a careless ChuChu who feigns ignorance. So he's smart. He goes, I don't know, but he knows.
Yeah, but he's always kissing. Look at that. He's ready to kiss.
Well, you got to hear about this guy. Chubak, man. The green ChuChu that has swirly glasses. He is a steady and reliable ChuChu. But guess what?
What?
He does things at his own pace.
So, we got a rebel.
I read all that. These guys aren't even in the game. So it's like...
They look cool, I guess. Some artists wanted to have them in, right?
Absolutely. And the funny thing is they do appear later as fully 3D rendered racers in Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing. So at least they got their video game debut there. But that's interesting, like a little interesting piece of video game trivia where you could say the main characters from ChuChu Rocket made their first video game appearance like 15 years later.
Yeah.
You know? Were you aware of these guys in the story?
Okay, so I wasn't aware with them in the story too much. Like I maybe glanced at them in the past. I only knew the mice as the obvious mice that we all know of. And the only reason I actually knew each name was because I played them in that Sega Heroes when they had the event and they were unlockable. And I was like, oh, they have names? All right. I didn't know that. But yeah.
Yeah. I actually wanted them to not call the chubby one chubby because I think that's offensive.
I think it's cute. I was going to say, I was going to say, what do you think about like the name ChuChu Rocket? Because it's mice and cats, but the name literally has nothing to do with mice or cats. It's ChuChu Rockets, which is like a train rocket.
I don't speak Japanese, but I have to wonder if there's a loss in translation here. Like maybe ChuChu is some like ChuChu, like a little adorable mouse noise, like squeak squeak over here.
Maybe. I just thought it was interesting.
Kapu Kapu, I don't know what that means. I know Kappa, but that's a totally different thing. It might just be Yuji Naka being goofy,
Yeah.
I'd probably put that. I mean,
probably
you've seen this guy's output at Probe when he started his own business after leaving Sega, and he was like, tap the teddy bear, teddy boy, tap him and he'll stand up. So I mean, Yuji Naka, I think on his own creates some pretty weird stuff.
He's a weird guy.
So, he is a weird guy. So now I'm going to feel like I'm reading the instructions to a board game. So if you get bored, tap out. That's fine. So the multiplayer gameplay, it's deceptively simple. Players must guide one or more ChuChus around the stage into a rocket, avoiding hazards like holes and roving kapu-kapus. ChuChu movement patterns are a straight line, and then they'll hit a wall and then turn right. Kapu-kapus do the same, but they move slower. And any ChuChu that touches a kapu-kapu is eaten and lost. Oof. And if a kapu-kapu hits a rocket, 1/3 of the rocket's total is lost. So if you remember those multiplayer games, it's like you get 3 cats and you're just dead. Like you're done. You don't have any more.
Yeah.
Controlling a ChuChu is done through placing arrows, which causes them to go in the arrow's direction. Makes sense. However, if a kapu-kapu hits an arrow once, it will shrink, and the second time it erases the arrow. And I didn't mention this in the notes, but you'd use the thumbstick to move a cursor around. And to my knowledge, there's no mouse support with the game. So I personally never liked that control scheme. I think it does help the hectic nature, because it's like you just want to intuitively put an arrow there, but you're like, oh, but my pointer's down here. You got to move your pointer up. So it's just from a gameplay design perspective, it is kind of strange, because typically you are playing a character and on the screen you're here and you want to get here, and it just makes sense that you're like, well, I got to move him here to get him up there. Whereas in ChuChu Rocket, it's a far less intuitive. And I mean, if the pointer was a character, it would make a little more sense to me, because then I'm like, oh, I got to get this little guy over here to place the arrow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
so do you think it works better with like a touchscreen or mouse support?
I do. And
I have to agree. Same.
And I've in doing the Sega Bit stuff for 10 years, whenever I bring up like mobile games or alternative versions, like 3DS ports or something, people get upset and they go, "Oh, the original was better." And I really have to wonder if people like have played the original and then played the new one and thought, you know what, there is a better way to do this. So I don't mean to crap on the original. It's awesome, and we're going to continue talking about it here, but just with that in mind, like intuitively, it makes so much more sense to either be able to touch a screen and place an arrow right away, which, if anything, would make the gameplay even more frantic, because you're going and you're moving the game along a lot faster, rather than using a cursor to move a D-pad to move arrow. It's just, I mean, and I'll say that's why I prefer the puzzle mode, because in that sense, it makes a little more sense that you can move it around and think, rather than move quickly and
Yeah.
But in a game that is kind of like ChuChu Rocket is Lemmings, and they do that as well. You use the cursor. So again, it's another situation where you see them dying over here, and you're like, "Oh my god, I got to move the cursor over."
And then the cursor goes like 1 pixel a second. So
yeah, it's like it's going,
forever.
it's going. Da, 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 da. So going back to the rules of the game, there are different types of ChuChus. There's the plain blue and white ChuChus, and then there's pink and red question mark ChuChus, which give gameplay option when hitting the rocket. And these include speed up, slow down, Mouse Mania, which has an insane amount of mouses come out, Cat Mania, an insane amount of cats, Mouse Monopoly, which means, I believe, all the mice go to your rocket, Cat Attack, which means cats go to all your opponent's rockets, Place Arrows again, which clears the board, and then Everybody Move, where everyone just changes places. And then when the timer stops, the player with the most ChuChus is the winner. So, did you play much online multiplayer back in the day? You said no.
No.
For local multiplayer, you played against a CPU then, I'm assuming.
I played a little bit of it, but I actually kind of preferred the single, just playing it. I mean, yeah, solo with the CPU, yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't play this game too much either, so it's not like one of those games where I'm like, I'm going to tell you every level and every single so I'm just letting you guys know. This is one of those where I'm going in kind of fresh. But there's not that much info in the game. Like, I knew the marketing behind it because I remember it. I think, well, when we get to it, it's very, I think, iconic for the time. But yeah.
Yeah, And do you have any funny memories playing the game? Probably not, right?
I actually do not have them in that. Like, I never played it with a lot of people. A lot of people that I know were into puzzle games. I wasn't into puzzle games. I just remember playing it when I got it because it was a Sonic Team game, and at the time, Sonic Adventure and Phantasy Star Online kind of like revived my love for Sonic Team, because there was like a few years where I wouldn't really buy Sonic Team games, but like the hype for fantasy. I mean, first, the hype for Sonic Adventure was huge when it came out.
Amazing.
And then when the sequel came out, it had the Phantasy Star Online. I was already sold. I had to buy more Sonic Team games. I actually like Samba better than this game as a side game.
Oh,
yeah. But this has still had some really cool puzzles. I've never beat it, but I remember listening to like the radio at night, late at night, and trying to, go through some of the levels in this.
Yeah. I definitely agree there in terms of the non-Sonic Sonic Team output on the Dreamcast. It's like Phantasy Star Online way at the top, and then Samba de Amigo just slightly below it. I absolutely love that game. Like I remember acing like the super duper hard, like extreme hard mode for certain songs. And just feeling so good about myself, because once you get into that mode, the
you have like how many maracas do you have?
I have three sets.
We ever need to have? I mean, if we ever have an event and we need to have maracas, we got a dealer right here.
Absolutely, I have so many that I can put the nice one aside and let people play the crappy ones. For me, I don't have that many super funny memories. I know full well, though, that playing multiplayer, there's always that instance where there's some person just dominating.
Of course.
Sending all the cats to other places, and then you get an everybody move, and they move, and it's just such great karma when they move to a spot that they were attacking, and like, boom, 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 three cats hit them, and then they're just like at 0, and then you win. And it's a game, it's not a fair game. I will say that. There's a bit of chaos to ChuChu Rocket because of those little question mark mice, but I think that's why people love it, because you can be a really great player at it but still sometimes lose because of those damn little mice that screw you up.
It's kind of like when you play Mario Kart or that new game Fall Guy that just came out, where it's like 50% luck, 50% skill, so even your mom and your dad can kind of like win a game sometimes, or like anybody could win a game, so it gets more addictive,
Absolutely. And I mean, look at those games. They're both very successful, and ChuChu Rocket was too. So it's like, I think you do better when you have that a little bit of chaos in the game that helps the struggling players, like the newbies, because they're like, oh, I won. And the person who's played it for years are like, how did you win? Another memory I have is that I have encountered members of Sonic Team in the chat room back in the day. I don't remember how they signify it was them, but it was, I know in Phantasy Star Online, like they were a different color, and it was like, and I saw them once in a blue moon, but then on ChuChu Rocket, it might have been like just like Sonic Team _ or something, and they would appear in the chat room. They would get dogpiled on by people going, oh, what's going to happen in Sonic Adventure 2, yada yada. And they might play a game with someone, but they would rarely talk to them because I think they were Japanese. And probably didn't know what people were saying to them. But it was cool. It was kind of like the equivalent of going to a convention and like across the room you see someone and you're like, oh, that's the guy. And then they disappear. So as far as multiplayer, there were a lot of modes. You could do a 4-player battle, team battle, which was 2 versus 2, stage challenge, which was kind of fun. It was almost like puzzle mode, but in real time, where you had to satisfy certain conditions. So like get all the ChuChus in the rocket, eat all the ChuChus with a Kapu Kapu, get 100 ChuChus in the rocket. And then I think the most popular one was cat football, which kind of, I don't know, felt like lobby soccer. But it was, you were pushing cats into your opponent's rockets. And then there was also a battle mode. And the cool thing was with Stage Challenge is you could have a second player locally assisting you. So that was fun. That's
pretty cool.
Yeah, almost like Tails, where they're just kind of there tagging along, helping you out, and then screwing you up. The other method, and you see, the thing is, they didn't really sort the game this way. It was just, here's all the modes. But for me, I think there is a clear division in ChuChu Rocket, is the puzzle mode. And in this mode, players had to guide ChuChus to a rocket while avoiding kapu-kapus in holes. If a kapu-kapu hits a rocket, the puzzle is just immediately over, and you fail. Players had a preset number of arrows and had to place the arrows prior to starting the movement of the ChuChus. So unlike multiplayer and challenge modes, puzzle was much more of a thinking man's game and appealed to, in my opinion, a different type of player. And I think we said which mode we prefer, but I want to ask, which one do you think is the strongest and most defining mode of the game?
I would say the puzzle mode, because I feel like when they bring the game back on mobile, that's what I see myself playing more as. Like, I don't even know if they have multiplayer. I never checked the Android version if it has multiplayer. I know there's a new one,
but it's not
iPhone.
as popular.
Yeah. That's what I assumed. So I just go in straight up, play the puzzle mode. I actually kind of like it because it's something you can pick up and play and try to get further and further through. I think the puzzle aspect of the game is very unique, and there's no other puzzle game like this that's at least as close in design and what they went for. So I would say, puzzle mode is the most defining thing for me. You?
Yeah, I think I'd agree with you. I feel like when they do commercials and like retrospectives, they always show multiplayer, just because it's so crazy and hectic and gives a fun splashy thing to throw up on the screen. But end of the day, when you look back at ChuChu Rocket, like, the longevity comes from puzzle mode. If you're not online or if you don't have friends around, you're not going to be playing against the CPU. It's no fun. Yeah. So with the puzzle mode, you kind of are playing with people because you're playing puzzles created by Sonic Team, and in the GBA version, you're playing player-created puzzles as well. So there is a little bit of a community aspect there. There's also, which in my opinion is the coolest thing, the puzzle editing mode, where you can create and upload your own puzzles. And kind of like Super Mario Maker years later, players, you could actually upload the puzzles and, what am I trying to say? Oh, like in Super Mario Maker, you would make the thing, but then they'd say you have to beat it in order to upload it.
Yeah.
And that's what ChuChu Rocket would do. They'd say you'd have to beat it in order to upload it, which just, it makes sense. I've made things in the past that didn't require that, so it was really a crapshoot, and you had to rely on user reviews who are just like impossible. And it's like, well, if it's Mario Maker or ChuChu Rocket, it's not impossible because someone beat it. But I will say there are puzzles where it's like down to the wire. It's like cat mouse, like that, and you can be cheap with it, but end of the day, if the arrows have the proper place to go, then it works. So thanks to the magic of the Dreamcast modem, players could play others online and chat prior to and after games, as mentioned, upload and download puzzles, and see world records, and even spot the occasional Sonic Team member. So in regards to the development, there is not a lot of information out there, but I think it's because it was probably a pretty quick turnaround. It was a small project. You don't really see Yuji Naka sitting down to discuss ChuChu Rocket. Mainly, I think, because when people talk to him, they immediately start talking about Sonic.
Yeah, of course.
Or Balan.
Yes.
So ChuChu Rocket, though, it seems like an oddity because it was directed and produced by Yuji Naka and created by Sonic Team. It came out between Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2 and before PSO. So you're wondering, like, why did they create this tiny little game? And the reason really is because it was created in part to test the online functionality of the Dreamcast and to test Sega's servers. Another thing was they wanted to test the console's processing power by displaying many characters at once. In fact, Naka's goal was to have 100 sprites running on the screen without slowdown. Naka believed that there were two trends to evolving hardware. One was to make increasingly beautiful graphics, so like Shenmue, Sonic Adventure, and then the other was to squeeze as much processing power and using the machine to its fullest. And you see that with like PS2 would launch, and like you'd see some games where people are like, oh, what's that thing all about? And it's like, oh, it pushes the emotion engine to the extreme.
Makes you cry.
And you're, oh. But, so this definitely was a sort of a little test bed for PSO. I think it makes sense because then when they moved into PSO, Yuji Naka had the experience of ChuChu Rocket for creating networked games. Now, completely different genres, but at the very least, they had the experience. And because of this, it helped in their development of PSO. And I thought what was kind of cool was that PSO would then later reference ChuChu Rocket, I think, is probably a little thank you to the other game by featuring ChuChus and Kapu Kapu items and cameos. So I personally have a ChuChu mag in my PSO 1 character, and I believe he spits out like little ChuChus. I could be wrong, but it's cute.
Yeah.
So Yuji Naka himself, he's not new to developing games that also act as hardware or a technical test bed. So first off, let's think of some. Nights into Dreams, for example. I think the AI life was not a necessity, but I felt like they were really using that as a way to test AI.
Which was kind of weird because I feel like when Nights was being promoted, that wasn't even talked about. Like, maybe I didn't read enough about the game before it came out, but I felt like it's something that I learned way after the game came out, way after I beat it, that there's some sort of AI with in the game. I didn't know that. So it's like, I guess it's just a test because they didn't really use it in marketing, did they? Because all the marketing that I saw for it were like, you're going to fly, basically.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly. No, and I think too with like Burning Rangers, they were playing a lot with lighting and shadow techniques. So I mean, I wouldn't say they created those games to push AI or lighting and shadow, but it definitely shows that for many of Yuji Naka's projects, he would want to push something on a more technical level, rather than pushing, beautiful, gorgeous graphics. You also see, like in the case of his game Let's Tap, it's really playing more with how can you create a game without the player touching the controller. So it's creating a challenge for himself using the pre-existing control methods there. So I think when he is given the right tools and the right team, he can create some really amazing games, even though we're not talking about them like they're graphically impressive like Shenmue.
Yeah.
But, it's... I think this is a question, but I do think there is something to be said about Sega games that both set out to entertain and innovate. And I feel like those have always been the most successful Sega games and the ones that endure. Like, any of Yuji Naka's or Yu Suzuki's arcade games, Outrun, Hang On. I mean, we've discussed those in the past, and it's always some technical hurdle that they would have to overcome. And in doing so, they were both innovating within the industry, but then they were creating these games that were just so fun. And, there's always a place for just like fun games. But I always feel like there's a little extra specialness to Sega when they're trying to innovate. And I think that's something that they lost for a long time in the 2010s.
I think it's like it's something that I feel like maybe was not good for Sega. I mean, it's good for us as a consumer that loves somebody pushing the boundaries. But like, if you think about it, a lot of games I've noticed now are like copy and paste. It's like, oh, people really, really like this design of games, so all our games are going to be designed this way now because like it's addicting. So we kind of figured out what the addictive qualities of games are. Back then it was kind of like a crapshoot, right? It's like a playing game, a 3D fighting game. Light guns are back now. So I mean, it's not like we didn't copy and paste, but I feel like now it's gone to the point where like every single Sony game is a third-person open-world game. Like, literally, they don't make anything else. They don't make a driving game. Oh, I guess Gran Turismo, but it's been years. I know there's a new one coming out, but like most of their games, like 90% are third-person action games. So like Sega back then was pretty interesting that they would change it up. They did do a lot of racing though.
Right, absolutely.
Cool.
I mean, we would see fighting game after fighting game from AM2, but if you really study them, you see that they're creating innovations within that genre with each successive game. And I think where it kind of falls flat is when they start to get games where it's like you go from Virtua Fighter 3 TB to Virtua Fighter 4 to Virtua Fighter 5, all great games, but I feel like the innovation kind of stalled out, and it was just kind of from 4 to 5, it was just kind of like we're just making the next one.
And I think that's why we never got 6. I think they don't know what to do.
Right, like if they do a 6, it's just going to be better graphics, new fighters. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying that thinking back, like to some of these great games, it was always like, as evidence, like ChuChu Rocket, we're testing the online setup that the Dreamcast has, see how many characters we can put on screen, and then moving forward, that helps them with PSO, which was the first online multiplayer RPG. But then thanks to ChuChu Rocket, they probably were able to have more characters on screen. So, it's I think we're seeing it again now, though. I think some of the Yakuza studio stuff is really innovative. It may not be like Last of Us 2 level graphics, but it doesn't have to be. Like, I get much more out of watching the dev diaries from like Yakuza 7 than I do people gushing over someone taking their shirt off in Last of Us 2, and they're like, oh my god, look at that. Look at that. It's a character's removing their shirt. And I'm like, yeah, but how does this help gameplay?
I would say
how does this innovate?
I would say that the Yakuza's engine is probably the top 3 engine in Japan. I don't know about, America. In America, we have total different, like you could tell that Yakuza still has a budget, right? And it's playing within that budget. It's not like Shimu, where they're like every character's voice the whole time. Every word that comes out of their mouth has been spoken. They'll cut the side missions will have just text, right? So I think stuff like that is fine. I actually like Yakuza, and I agree with you. It's perfect. So let's talk about the sales.
Yeah. Well, so in addition to being a technical success, ChuChu Rocket topped Japanese sales charts during its first week in November 1999. Wow. It sold 35,000 copies, and it pushed PlayStation's Chrono Trigger off the top spot. In December, Famitsu released a ChuChu-themed mini-game for the VMU, and players who successfully beat the game were given a little password that they would send back to the magazine, and they would prizes like controllers and VMU stickers and pens.
Japan
cute
gets
things like that.
Everything that's cool.
Yeah, and I think if you want to play this, you might be able to find it on VMU Tool. If you go to what is it? It's not Booyaka.com, but it's like Blue Swirl.
Yeah.
Blue Swirl, yeah. It's probably on there. The game released on March 7th, 2000 in the United States, 3 months earlier than originally announced. And I remember that too, because I remember hearing that there was a Sonic Team game coming out, and I was probably like 4 months into the Dreamcast at this time. And then I'm like, oh, it's coming out. Oh, it's out now. Okay. So I feel like in America, there wasn't a huge advertising push behind it. It just kind of released. However, there were a lot of little things leading up to it. Like there was a web-based Shockwave demo, which featured 30 puzzles, so you could play like an online version of the game.
I didn't know that one.
Yeah, isn't that weird? Like it was a stripped-down web version demo of the game, and you kind of see that now. Like when I'm playing mobile games and it gives me an ad, it will let me play a version of like a word scramble game, but it's very clearly like a Flash version of the actual game.
Yeah.
Or like
So you could try it before you install.
Yeah, it's like an HTML5 kind of thing. Sega did have an online tournament on March 25th, 2000, where players could battle with members of Sonic Team, the Dreamcast Network team, and other Sega employees in online matches. I remember that taking place, and I remember being a little afraid to do it. I don't know if I partook in it, but I remember it happening and people being, oh, I'm going to fight Yuji Naka.
Finally. Yeah. I was going to say, I just remember the tournaments during the time, like the NFL ones, they had like big cash prizes and they were like always staple the thing everywhere where it's like, are you good enough to win? I think it was like 100 or 12,000 maybe. I don't know. 120, 100. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know how much it was, but I remember them doing this and I remember being a kid going like, wow, everything's going to be changing in the future where people could literally play games for money. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah, I had a recent moment where I was at before COVID, so don't judge me. I was at a restaurant and on the TV was hockey and old people were watching it and I realized it was like NHL 2K or whatever. It was a video game.
Oh.
And they were playing like ESPN like 9 or something where, you know, it had like the online gaming. And so I was like, wow, these old people don't know that that's not real hockey.
They're all excited watching it.
They were like, oh, look at that, look at them go. And I'm like, I don't think that's real. Europe saw the game release on June 9th, 2000. And while they did have to wait longer than everybody else, as I mentioned, it was free to Dream Arena subscribers. I also didn't know this until I wrote these notes. A Naomi arcade version was planned but scrapped.
Why?
So, I don't know. Do you think it would have been an arcade hit?
I mean, it was a Japanese hit with 35,000 units. So, like, if those, like, 35,000 or a few thousand were like, I'll play it. It's a free port. But maybe there was no demands for a ChuChu Rocket Machine. Or maybe Sega thought, hey, why sell a game that's selling us might sell units and put it in arcades and not sell Dreamcasts? So
that's a good point. Yeah, I think the sales probably were so strong they were like, will someone really walk into an arcade and go, oh, I have this at home, I should play it right now?
Yeah.
I mean, I do that, but
I do
that's
that too.
Just me. I'll be like, oh my god, they have Crazy Taxi. And
yeah,
it's
when I randomly go anywhere and they're like, oh my god, is that F-Zero? Oh, gotta get in it. Gotta do a race. Right,
exactly. As far as advertising, there weren't really any commercials except for one. And this one, in my research too, and we can watch it in a sec, it was actually made available to download on the website, which I think was kind of new at the time. So Americans were finding it and downloading it and being like, wow, look how crazy Japanese ads are. So let's give it a watch. We can start when you're ready. Let me know when to hit play.
1, 2, 3. So it's basically a little kid. It's kind of like a cutesy sketch ad with no graphics, right? They didn't show any of the online graphics. Honestly, if you don't know Japanese, you'll probably be like, what is this? I don't know. It's bizarre.
Well, that's why I think it became really popular online, because it's so cutesy. But then at like the halfway point, he chews them, blood comes out of his mouth, and then his head like explodes with blood and guts. And
it's pretty disturbing, and like I remember this vivid commercial as one of the first things that like somebody sent to me when I like started going on forums, and I eventually went on the Sega forums. Rest in peace, Sega forums.
Yeah.
And I remember some guy DM'd me, and I think you might know who this person is, Ryan Sharkey. I still have him on Facebook. And he showed me this commercial, and he was just talking about we talked about how bizarre it was, and then we became friends after that. So it is a vivid commercial. It's one of the commercials he showed me. But yeah, this is very, very nostalgic memories with this commercial from the early.
That's nice.
From the mid 2000s.
There's only 2 seconds of gameplay. I timed it. It's like 1,000, 2,000. I do have a translation. Would you like me to tell you what they were singing?
Oh. Yes, please.
They were going, choo-choo rocket, save the mice. Choo-choo rocket, the cats are scary. Choo-choo rocket, rockets are great. Then he goes, ta-sa-ba-ba-ba!
So that's how they sold the game. I mean, I don't know if that would have worked in America, but it's cool that it worked for them.
Yeah.
Because, like, I don't know, like, it's just I don't know, like, I wouldn't buy the game based on that ad, but it worked, so I can't really judge them.
Yeah, and can we look at the print ad here?
Yeah, it's up on the screen with the orange controller.
Yeah, so it was they had these 2-page spreads for the print ads.
Big money.
It looks like someone scanned it with a hair on there. But as you can see, they did advertise that there were bonus characters because I didn't put this in the notes, but Nighttopians and Chow also are unlockable as alternatives to the ChuChu.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool that they put that down there, but it's for a commercial that's so wacky, it's a very informative ad. It's like, here's the modes you can do, here's the price, you get a controller, here's the Nighttopian, like you can get little guys from the last game. And then the other side of it's just a big mouse and the
one of the things I really loved about this, though, is the little word bubbles they use for the logo and how it's Sonic Teams, like Sonic Team Presents word bubble, and then an orange bubble, and then the blue. I just like all the colors they used. I mean, it fits perfectly because, I mean, orange and blue are usually one of the most popular design colors. Yeah,
and the little Sonic Team jingle, is that unique to this game, or was it on any Saturn games? I know in the Saturn it was like Sonic Team.
Yeah.
And then this one went Sonic Team.
I think so. I haven't heard it anywhere else. And if they do another game, should they bring it back?
My favorite is the Samba de Amigo one where he goes, "Hey, we have the Sonic Team."
It's all sleazy. Yeah. It's perfect.
Let's take a look at the American ad.
By the way, I found a better version of this ad, but yeah, I have it up. God. Yeah,
so
this is the one I remember.
Yeah, so this is a common thing for a lot of the Sega ads at the time. It had all this little like technical information, barcodes, little wireframe models of things, people's names. It's cute. I think it really pushes across. It's less about the gameplay, though, and more about online gameplay, which is not a bad thing. It's just a shame, I think, that so much space is wasted on just a big US map, and they're not, like, integrating gameplay. Like, you could show screenshots around the people's heads.
Yeah,
so
like, I mean, they could have shown, like, a screenshot of how one person won and everybody lost, and, like, showing the screenshots of what actions they took or something. To, like, I don't know, show off the gameplay. Because look at the screenshots. They're, like, so small down here. And it's more focused on these people.
And these people, too, I can't really tell if they are stock photos or if they took photos specifically for this. I'm assuming they're stock, though.
There was actually a commercial where these people were in it. And I think it might be a Sega Net commercial. And I remember it was like, you never know who you meet online, and it showed this guy. It showed the white trash guy, and then the crazy girl, like
Peaches.
So I think they were trying to make them characters that they dropped pretty quickly, and they just kind of like whatever promotion was going on for Sega Net kind of just took ChuChu Rocket. And I bet you, if they didn't support, I mean, they were trying to support Sega Net more than they were ChuChu Rocket at the time. It just happened that it had online. That's why.
Yeah. So I mean, not a bad ad, but again, it's not really ChuChu Rocket focused.
Definitely not cute.
The British one, if we can bring that up, it's probably the worst one in my opinion.
You like all the big font?
It's just like, be a Eurostar with a free copy of ChuChu Rocket.
And no screenshots. A little description.
Very little description about what it actually is. You get a free copy, but it's like, well, what do I have to do? Dream Arena's not a service that I know that much of. In fact, honestly, I feel like there is so much difference to the experience of a European Dreamcast fan from an American Dreamcast fan that I have trouble working with and collaborating with people at the Dreamcast junkyard, I think because our experiences are so different.
Oh, yeah. They think the logo's blue.
Well, not only that, but like they talk about ads, they talk about services, they talk about like games that I have no clue. Like the Dreamcast Barber, Dream Arena.
Oh yeah, I do remember the Barber. I was confused, but yeah.
Yeah, they're like all like Toy Commander, good game, but like over there, I feel like it's a much bigger deal.
It's like
so nothing wrong with that, but there is a very big disconnect, I think, in the Dreamcast experience, and it's almost why I'm kind of unenthused when I find out that like a Dreamcast book is coming out and it's from a British writer, because I'm like, oh man, they're just going to talk about the Barber and stuff.
You just offended all the British fans of the podcast.
No, but I think it's a fair thing though, because when you're reading like the history of something and it's coming from a different part of a different country entirely, you're getting a completely different experience.
So if we do a Dreamcast episode, we have to do a separate episode for the European people, like the Euro.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, I just don't think I don't think it does everyone justice to tell the story, to say like, I'm going to tell you about the launch of the Sega Dreamcast. You see, it happened in Europe. It was a Blue Swirl, and we had Dream Arena. And it's like a very different story. So in terms of ChuChu Rocket here, it's
ugly. It's like I just put a font over like official assets and said, "Here you go. I finished my job. Let me go home." Like as a graphic designer. I mean, you're a graphic designer, Barry. If I submitted this as one of your workers and I said, "Here you go. I have now done my work. Can I go home?" What would you tell me?
Try again. It's some decent graphics, and then they just overlaid massive type with black drop shadow. It's just kind of ugly. It doesn't make me want, like, all it's saying is you get something for free. And you go, okay, and you go down here. Now, for the first time ever, you can take on the rest of Europe head to head in real time through your Dreamcast console. What's more you can do for free with ChuChu Rocket, Europe's first ever online console game. We're giving it away to anyone who buys a new Dreamcast, and to all existing Dreamcast owners who go online through their consoles to Dream Arena, Dreamcast's exclusive website. And once you've got your free copy, from June 9th, you can enter the European ChuChu Challenge by visiting Dream Arena. Don't miss out. It's your chance to be the star of Europe. So, I mean, that is cool that you could get it even, like, if you were going to buy a new one or you didn't, you just had to access a website through your Dreamcast.
They could have, like, showed you the steps in the whole ad about how you could not only get a free game, but also win massive money by beating people on the internet.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. Like, here, it's like, get a free copy, but then you read down here, and it's like, you have to buy the console, visit the website. I don't know.
Lame. Next one?
Yeah, next one. France had a very abstract way of advertising. So what they did was they showed
the hole in the wall.
Assuming, it's a stock photo of a mouse hole. Yeah. I could probably find it if I searched online.
Mouse hole.
But it's right. It's got their outlet. Like, look at that.
It's ugly. That's an ugly outlet. Come on, guys.
Outlets look like this. They look.
Yeah, they have to have a third hole in the mouth. Like, how are you supposed to breathe? Like, with only two holes. Come on, guys. Get your stuff together.
Okay. Le premier jeu online sur Dreamcast. What it should say is, where is Shenmue 3? Where is Shenmue 4? That's all I hear the French saying online.
Me too, actually.
Yeah. But look at these screenshots now. These are interesting. So we've got big mouse, big cat, a screen you never rarely see. It's just the side of the board when you win the game.
Oh yeah.
One gameplay picture, and then ChuChu Rocket logo.
Perfect. I mean, what else you need to know, right? I'm assuming that is this like normal for French people to like advertise games with just like a hole in the wall?
Yeah, I think so. They like to do that.
Disgusting.
So I think we've kind of discussed which region has the strongest promotion. I think Japan, in terms of the print, and they actually had a commercial that's more than anyone else did.
And it sold the most there probably, so it makes sense.
Yeah, and I think they actually all promoted it effectively for what they were doing. I think in Europe it probably wasn't difficult to give away a free game. I think in America they were really pushing SegaNet. I think that worked out fine for them. As far as the critical reaction, so ChuChu Rocket, it was widely praised by critics with scores averaging around 9 out of 10 or 4 stars out of 5. Stuart Taylor of Dreamcast Magazine UK said the game was shamelessly retro and monstrously addictive. How's that? A game from 1999 is being called retro then.
It reminds me of Asteroids when I played when I was a youngster. Right? Is that what they're saying?
Yeah. Nick Jones, writing for Arcade, said the game was complete madness and rates as an example of Japanese gaming eccentricity at its finest. The most common criticism was network lag when playing frantic online matches, and reviewers also complained about not being able to log in, though I feel like that's more of a user issue, not a game issue.
It's also something that like people that will buy it today are not going to care about. Mm-hmm. Like, they're not going to be logging into SegaNet anymore. If anything, they'll probably use whatever hack they have today to get on DSL or high-speed internet. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But like, no review outright hated it. So why do you think it's so universally loved? And do you think Sega has ever seen a game with this much positive reaction since? And I say that because, think of modern ones like Sonic Generations. You and I or Sonic Mania might say, oh, those are great games. You look online, though, there are still people that will go, no. Sonic Mania, no. Sonic Generations, no.
My favorite part, it's just a fan ROM hack. Oh, cool, sick, dude.
Right. But look at ChuChu Rocket. Like, I have not met anyone who goes, I hate that game.
No, I haven't. I think that if Sonic Team released this game today, it would probably got a hate just because, how it goes now.
Too small.
I don't know about it being too small, but I would say that they would complain about anything, though, now about Sonic Team. I feel like that happens. Like, Sonic Forces is short, and it's like the worst thing ever that ever happened to Sonic is Sonic. Like, wow, I played some really bad Sonic games. Sonic Forces might be short. The story might not be great, but, like, is it the worst game? It ran at 60 frames per second. It had some pretty decent level designs. The graphics aren't terrible. Like, is it the worst thing ever? No. As this, I'm actually surprised that it got so much positive feedback because I just think Sega was making like monster hits at the time. I thought people would have complained about this, right? Like,
well, I think the important thing to look at is in Europe it was free, so no one's going to say it wasn't worth the price. No one's going to say, man, this game like $60 was too much in America because it was $30, which was really low for like a game that's coming out 5 months from launch, Mm-hmm. So I really think it was the price point or giving it away for free that helped it, because there's a lot of times where I will read retro reviews of games, I will read reviews of games at the time now, and I'm like at the used game store looking at something and I'm like, man, is this worth $5? Let's see what the reviewers say. And so many reviewers are like, this game would have been good if it wasn't full price. And I'm like, all right, we'll take price out of the equation because I'm reading this 20 years later. Is this a good game for $5? And they're like, oh yeah, it's great, but not $60 great. And I'm like, good, I'm not buying it for $60. So, I mean, that's just a little commentary on game reviewers. I think take price out of it. Yeah. Because you never know when someone's going to be reading it. You never know when the price is going to drop.
That's true.
So, I honestly, I think it being free probably really helped, or $30, because I've never heard anyone complain about this game. I've never heard about anyone saying, it doesn't have enough content. Like, I don't know. I can't think of a negative. Too frantic, too crazy.
Mice are disgusting. How about that? You didn't think of that one, did you, Barry?
But they're ChuChu.
Oh yeah, you're right. They're space mice, which is totally different.
Well, exactly. So moving on here, ChuChu Rocket. Its home is the Sega Dreamcast. However, some very strong ports and remakes of the game exist on handheld and mobile platforms. The game was released to the GBA as a launch title in 2001, bringing the Dreamcast experience to the small screen with 2D graphics. And what makes the GBA version so amazing is that in addition to the 100 puzzles from the Dreamcast version, there were 2,500 user-submitted puzzles uploaded from the Dreamcast servers. So I don't know if you signed a waiver giving away your freebie. Yeah. But like, you very well might have a friend or yourself who has a level in a Game Boy Advance game without knowing it.
You have designed a Sega game, technically. You have designed a level.
How would you know that you're one of the 2,500? I don't even know if they would keep the title. You know what I mean? Like, of the puzzle.
Yeah.
There is a cool thing, though. So, the Game Boy Advance version, it expanded on the level editor. So you could actually edit 4-player battle grids, team battle grids, and stage challenges, as well as the pre-existing puzzle mode. And you could also draw your own ChuChu and Kapu Kapu sprites. And I believe you could save like 1 or 2 at a time. So in addition to, I think, Chow and Nighttopians being in the game, you could do anything. And, you know, I've done gross things. Like poops.
Of course. Poops, peepees, boobies.
I did Pac-Man and Ghosts for one.
Oh, that's the obvious one, right? Like copyright stuff.
I've done like pickles and sausages. Like, you can do anything. And
go on. You're gonna ask the question. I might as well just wait.
No. Well, I was just gonna say that it also released to the Wii U. On 2015 through the Virtual Console. So, what were you gonna say?
I was going to say that I think Sonic Team was really ahead of their time when it came to creative stuff like this, like the editing. I think the biggest thing at the time that was so ahead of its time that I don't think was advertised or really talked about when people talk about this game is the user-submitted levels and the idea of, like, you know, literally changing the whole game into whatever you want. A copyright nightmare. You could put Yoshi's and Mario's as a mode.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And not to crap on Mario Maker, but at least with ChuChu Rocket, you had a base game there. You didn't have to make the content. I bought Mario Maker. I didn't play it much. I actually got bored with it just because I felt that a lot of the user-submitted stuff was not very fun. And I felt like the time I spent building out a level was not rewarding because, like, they would remove it eventually because people didn't like it. And I'm like, well, I don't care if hundreds of people like it. I just want like a couple people to even see it. You know,
yeah.
And they're like, yeah, but a couple people doesn't cut it. And then it moves on to the Switch. So, you know, it's...
I haven't played the Switch one. I've heard some stuff where people are like, it's not worth buying. I don't know, something the way the online works or the way that the levels show up. I haven't tried it, like I said. I mean, I could probably get a copy of it, but like... I kind of like these little make your own thing games. It's something that was really popular with Little Big Planet and stuff. So it's pretty interesting to see that Sonic Team did it, but in the 90s.
Oh, absolutely. And like, if Little Big Planet is like this much time and Minecraft is like through the roof, ChuChu Rocket is very manageable. Like, you can sit down in 10 minutes, bang something out, and have fun with it.
Exactly.
And I think that's also why it was successful, because it wasn't a major time suck. Like, I don't have time for those types of games anymore where they're like, you make your own universe. And I'm like, I don't have time. Just make a game for me, please, so I can play it.
I feel like it's for kids that, like, to inspire them to be game developers. I think it's kind of what the developers go for. Like that new Dreams one, it's like, you could do anything in that thing. And I'm like, I don't have time to do anything. I wish. You know, for free. It's like, I'm not getting paid for this.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That'd be great if they had a video game that paid you.
Yeah. But, make assets and then they give you money.
So, ChuChu Rocket, it also saw some mobile phone ports. There was actually I believe, like, flip phone version by the company AirPlay. It released in 2006. This version was also available via the now defunct Play Sega service, which you might remember for offering subscribers a white USB Saturn style pad, which I actually have over there in my closet. Were you a Play Sega member?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the first time I kind of talked to the Sega community managers, because they were the ones doing all this. Julian was one of the guys behind this whole thing. And so it was interesting that, like, you know, it came up again. I don't remember the ChuChu Rocket one. I do remember vividly that they had a Sonic level maker.
That's right, yeah.
Was really cool. And I was like, oh, they should make this into a full game. And then Mario did it, like, years later. And I'm like, come on, Sonic.
Right.
But
Yeah. And the I remember I signed up for it, but I don't believe I had a computer that like was it was web browser based, right?
Yeah, it was web browser based.
Okay, so I was able to play it, but I feel like I was more into getting the controller, and then I forgot to cancel, and then I sent a complaint to Sega, and they canceled and like refunded some money to me.
Oh yeah.
So it is what it is. In 2010, ChuChu Rocket saw a port to iOS, and in 2011 to Android by the developer Binary Hammer. These versions are notable for the ability to lay arrows by touching the screen, I believe. Yes. And making gameplay faster and more accurate. So I believe what you did, you'd touch the screen and then you'd swipe in the direction that you'd want the arrow to go. So you'd touch the square and go bop, bop. Sadly, this underrated version was pulled from the store in 2015 and is no longer playable on the current software, at least on iOS. I don't know how Android does it.
However, I think it is playable.
It is?
I think it is. I don't want to be 100%. I'm not sure.
Yeah, if you have an older device, though, like I do, I have an old iPod Touch that I pulled out of the closet a couple months ago, and it still has the game on it. It still plays. It's cool, and we actually have a trailer here. Did you get that?
It's on. Just let me... I'll tell you. 1, 2, 3.
Remember that old logo? Sega.
Yeah. Cold classic. Do you like the I one better or this one?
I like this one.
The I one's kind of scary. It's like bing.
So Wi-Fi or Bluetooth multiplayer. That's interesting.
This thing is funny though because like it's so chill. Like it's just showing off the graphics. Like every other commercial or anything is like showing off anything but the graphics and gameplay.
Well, it reminds me of the Sega Forever kind of pop-up video ads that they would do, where it was just like little fun facts. So that's what it looks like. It's actually kind of nice to have it, if you don't own it anymore, kind of archived here so you can see some gameplay. But as you can see, it looked nice. It had the puzzle editor. I believe, what did it say? It had 140 cheeserific puzzles. So, decent amount there. I don't think it had an editor, though. I could be wrong. But, it was a fun little thing for the time. It's a shame you can't play it anymore. However...
Oh, we're going to talk about the new one?
A tiny bit.
Okay.
All right. Most recently, ChuChu Rocket had a sequel, which debuted on Apple Arcade entitled ChuChu Rocket Universe. The sequel saw full 3D stages wrapping around planetoid shapes like Mario Galaxy, and saw an expanded story mode, which had puzzles scattered throughout constellations that you would fly to. And since we might want to cover this someday on its own episode, we won't say too much more. If you haven't played it,
I will only cover this game if Danny ports it by himself. The community manager ports it to Android by himself. I have to see the code. And it says that Danny did it himself.
Let's see if I still have it.
It's part of the Apple Arcade, right?
Yeah.
And how's the service? I feel like those kind of paid mobile services are not going to succeed, in my opinion. But I don't know, like, because Google has its own too, and it's called.
Well,
like,
I
don't know what it's called.
I think with Apple behind it, it's going to last a lot longer. And I also feel like with people like me who subscribe to it and then just forget or don't care to unsubscribe because I might want to play some games next month. I mean, I'm just giving them $5 a month.
I will say that the Apple one is cooler because they have exclusives. Mm-hmm. The Android one doesn't.
I do have an Apple TV, so it does pop up little reminders when new games come out, and I've played a few of them. They're fun. ChuChu Rocket Universe is nice because you can use a controller. But this isn't about ChuChu Rocket Universe. It's about ChuChu Rocket. ChuChu Rocket has seen several cameos in later Sega titles, so we've got them here. Phantasy Star Online, there is a rare mag called ChuChu, which I have, which was introduced in Episode 2. It's a 4th evolution, and in order to get it, you must use Heart of ChuChu mag cell from a level 50 plus mag. The Heart of ChuChu is a seasonal item for Halloween, and it seems since it's dropped via Jack-O-Lantern. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
PSO,
I mean, I have the wiki entry right here that people could read, but I love the way that the mags had like this like 2 polygon, like they use like 1 or 2 polygons to make it, and they're so small.
Yeah.
But when you blow it up, they look all ugly. But when you played in the game, I was mind blowing. Like when you made a Dreamcast or a Saturn, I was like, oh, it's a Saturn, and it's so tiny and cute. So yeah, it's cool that they did ChuChu, but yeah.
Yeah, and then PSO Episode 3 was set to have ChuChu within the game as a guard card, and people found artwork and staffs for the ChuChu, but it never made it into the final product. Sega Super... Oh, yeah?
I mean, I'm just saying, I haven't played enough of Episode 3 to, like, confirm this. I just saw the wiki entry, and that's what it said. But, like... I've noticed a lot of these cameos, man, they're so hard to find pictures of, which I'm showing here. Like, especially the Sonic Battle one that you're going to talk about after this one. But
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Sega Superstars, I have that game, and ChuChus are one of the 12 full games to play in the main mode. Movement over a certain target on the screen will cause a bridge to raise, which the ChuChus then follow to the goal. Isn't it like you use your arms or something?
Yeah, it's a camera game.
Yeah. The bridge also must be dropped at certain moments to prevent the Kapu-Kapus from destroying the score. And in Sonic Battle, Tails' landmine appears to be a ChuChu, and the skill card describing the landmine gives the name as the ChuChu Rocket.
I saw it as Choo with a little 2 bomb, but I couldn't find out. I was looking for all these cards, trying to find it. But I've noticed that a lot of the Sonic websites don't have all the battle cards from the game, so it was kind of a nightmare to try to figure out what to use. So
what about Billy Hatcher? You got that one?
Yes, I do have the Billy Hatcher.
Nice. So ChuChu and Kapu-Kapu can be found in eggs. The former allows the player to access a mini version of ChuChu Rocket on the Game Boy Advance. I've played that, and the latter will help the player by attacking foes. Yeah, I remember that. It was Game Boy Advance had little mini ChuChu Rocket and Knights mini games.
Yeah, and I think they had Puyo Puyo in Japan, maybe. I'm not sure. I think I saw the models for it on the Wikipedia entry. So I didn't really read it, but I really like the little... I mean, like I said, I like low polygon models, and the little Game Boy Advance is pretty cute. So
you like little stuff, don't you?
I like when like Sega Saturn low polygon graphics. I think they're pretty awesome. People think that's ugly, the 32-bit era, but I think it could look nice. Like I like Sonic the Fighters, the models for that, even though they're blocky. I think it has some charm to it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's something to be said about doing what you can with limited tech and limited memory, and still conveying something. Like we've seen games that look absolutely awful, so Sega doesn't look awful, never. Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing, as mentioned, they have the 4-colored pilots as playable racers. They're all in the same rocket, and their All-Star move is riding a Kapu-Kapu and running over their opponents. Who did you race as the most in the original All-Stars Racing?
Trying to remember. I haven't played that in a long time. Oh, man. I don't even remember. I always switch around. It's one of those games where like you're like, oh, I want to play this guy. And then you play another guy. I mean, there's so many Sega characters in that game.
Yeah.
That as a Sega fan that likes a bunch of them. So my least played characters are Sonic characters. I mean, I don't want to be... I've seen them enough, I was there as playing, all the other characters that never get representation in any other games, But yeah,
well, the ChuChu one, I was going to say, because they're floating, the floaty ones in that game are always a little difficult to race as, just because you don't have a...
Oh, yeah.
You don't see wheels on the ground, and they're just kind of like going like this. But having said that, I did end up mastering Opa Opa. Like, I can race really well as him. I've tried with the ChuChus, and it's just not the best one for me. But my main one is the Bonanza Brothers. I can just like dominate as them. Their car goes, I don't know what it is about it, but it just can like corner really well and build up the boost. And it's great because you have all these people on there and they're all like, I'm Sonic. I'm Shadow, and then like the Bonanza Brothers come through and win every time.
I wish that they would release the stats of what was the most played racer in those games, like tiered. That'd be interesting.
That'd be cool. Yeah. So as far as ChuChu Rocket's future, look at this. We're wrapping up. It's possible, following an exclusivity deal with the Apple Arcade, that is the sequel, ChuChu Rocket Universe, will see a wider release. I remember when it was announced, people were like, "Oh, it might come to Switch." I'm like, no. I mean, it's unknown if it will stick to mobile or release to consoles, but like, let's be honest, Hardlight's behind it. They are a mobile developer. I would be very much surprised if ChuChu Rocket Universe appears on PS4 ever. I don't think so.
It'd be cool if it did, though. I mean, there's no reason it wouldn't.
It would be cool. But what is your thought on like the legacy and future of ChuChu Rocket before we get into our Patreon members?
I think it's one of those franchises that has really cool designs, but I feel like a lot of people kind of don't remember it as Sonic Team's best. I feel like there's more people that are into Ristar. Even Billy Hatcher has gotten more cameos, I feel like, even though he's had a shorter amount of existence than ChuChu's have. But I do think I think they're doing right on the mobile, because I feel like I said, touching the screen just feels better than playing a controller where you move the mouse. And if they do bring it to PS4, Switch, and all that, which I think they should, because I think ChuChu Universe looks amazing, and it would be a nice budget game. I think they need to let you move the cruiser or whatever a lot faster. You know, let you put the speed up. That's it. I mean,
absolutely. For me, I mean, as a game that started as just a little experiment with the modem and characters on screen, it really blew up at the time, and I think the momentum has not been lost with fans of the game. It's just Sega themselves don't really care to expand on that until most recently. So it's great to finally see it coming back. I've seen it included on those little like memes where they're like, Sega doesn't release any games, and it's like, here's your brand new ChuChu Rocket. Here's your Sakura Wars. Like
they mean they haven't released a new Sonic game,
right? Yeah, and so it's like it's exciting that ChuChu Rocket has become one of those games that have long not had its sequel and suddenly does. Having said that, I'd love to see it, expand more to more consoles, to more platforms, and there's time for that. There might be a brand new game. They might maybe do ChuChu Rocket Universe something else and like expand it beyond just that, which I think they should. So I wish I was playing it right now instead of talking about it, but you could actually with DreamPie. I think there's online servers, but we should read what our Patreon patrons say. So if you support us at any level, you can leave a comment. We ask like a week in advance, 2 weeks in advance if you're lucky, and we will read it regardless of length, as proven by last week's episode.
Yes.
So here we go. Nicholas Schaefer says, so as someone who didn't get a Dreamcast until about June 2001, I had missed this game that everyone seemed to have. So after hearing about it so much, I had to track it down. It was surprisingly hard as I didn't have the ability to use eBay. So after finally getting it in 2004, I felt it was a fun game, but wish I had found it earlier as it was a fun time waster. Brian Trong says, an addicting puzzle classic. I could play it nonstop for hours. And Daniel Andres, who has a ChuChu, the blue one, as his avatar, says, oh my gosh, this game is so much fun. My wife and I have a blast every time that we get a chance to play it together. I have also now used the notorious Cat Mania theme as my mom's ringtone. It cracks us up almost every time that she calls. This game is fun and very goofy, although the multiplayer co-op can be a little confusing. We still don't know how to use player 1 and 2 instead of 3 for co-op. Don't you move it? You just move your cursor along the top and pick? I'm not sure. Anyway, ChuChu Rocket is a lot of fun, and I would love to see it ported to modern systems. So that's ChuChu Rocket. We've closed the book on ChuChu Rocket.
Thanks for
George.
listening, everyone. We'll catch you next time, which I get to pick the game, so it's probably going to be a good episode. So it's
Snail Maze.
Snail Maze next week. Bye.
Bye.